years to tell me that.
That's good stuff. The lesson there, kids, don't listen to your parents. Do your own thing. That is well worth listening to. The full conversation between John and David Myler. It's as part of our Passing It On series in OTB Sports. All thanks to Gillette, #effortlessflow. And you'll get it on podcast if you want to download the podcast. Equally, it'll be on our YouTube channel as well. So that sounds like a good chat. Nice to have father interviewing son and vice versa.
It's a good dynamic, Joe,
yeah.
Mix it up.
Yeah. Time with the football show.
The Football Show
on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Premier League, Women's Super League, EFL, Scottish Premiership and much more. Live on Sky Sports.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then.
What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Now then, you're welcome along. Football show. Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent is with us. He's a bit nervous. He's a bit on edge. It's International Week. This is when just he gets a little bit. He comes into his own, you know.
Tapping the step, Joe.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Have to really get a good breakfast in to start the days. Really just get a real oomph in the morning. Just really just sort of approach it with purpose, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know what put a bit of pep in your step. Politicians talking.
Perfect
tournaments.
Storm. The perfect storm. You know, it's always nice. I went to watch the Ireland under-20s play. They're playing on home farm last night because all the international teams are playing this week. So a lot of interesting players involved in different age groups. Like, you know, Joe Hodge was playing last night for under-20s, who's sort of gone off the radar for the last 2 years. So, you know, you get home and you see the Tonight Show and Virgin are going to be discussing the Euros bid later on. You're thinking, what could this be? I tell you what it was, Joe. It wasn't very good.
Well, it's amazing that you said that, because I was just going to say I was on Twitter last night and this was where I could take the temperature of Dan McDonnell. So 22 hours ago you were getting hot. So Dan McDonnell, some 22 hours ago, my version of the gates of hell. Okay, that's a start to a tweet. Consists of a panel of politicos, but it's about to be politicians, politicos, debating a major tournament bid. There's a Fine Gael TD on the Tonight Show. Doesn't use his name. They're all the same. That's what you're saying.
They all search themselves. They don't need you. They want the traffic. You know.
There's a Fine Gael TD
all
on the Tonight Show, on about countries, as in other international teams, using regional LOI grounds as training bases. No, mate. That's so passive aggressive, mate.
We're not mates.
No, mate. They'll be using Carton or Foda, if they're even here at all.
Yeah, that's probably a bit dismissive in the last line. I mean,
335 likes.
Oh, well, there you go.
People loved it, Dan.
There was a lot of people who were awake at that time too.
Do you know who the Fine Gael TD was?
It was Alan Farrell, yeah.
Okay.
Alan Farrell.
Mate.
I saw my heart rate was going up. Actually, I genuinely did look at my heart rate a few minutes later. I was like, oh my God, this is genuinely annoying me. Don't know what it is. I think it's just because there's just something for everyone in these bids, you know, and it's almost as though, and it's fair enough, like, you know, in current affairs land, they're dealing with like a lot of serious issues and they drop into maybe the sports stuff and it's a little bit of a and finally type territory, and I do understand that. But obviously, it's been well established for some time what this bid is going to be about. That it was only ever going to be a Croke Park or a Viva Stadium job, you know, and it was almost this, what's the regional angle? Isn't this great? What's this going to bring to us? And it's like, well, no, it's going to be very limited scope in terms of that aspect of things. Now, it's very possible, you know, a couple of teams will stay here and stuff like that. That's absolutely fine. But I think it's maybe you're watching. I think it was like Claire Brock presenting it, and I mean, she's just doing her job asking questions, but she's clearly looking to say, well, where is the regional angle here? Like, what might be happening? And it's like, well, no, this is going to be in Dublin. That's one of the. To be fair, I'm not in favour of the bid at all, really. But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So just get on with it. You know, like there's no point. You know, you have to sort of embrace it and sort of accept that this is going to be the case. Now, I know Russia and Turkey have thrown their hat into the ring potentially. I don't see them as rivals to it. I still think this is probably going to happen now. But you sort of have to be realistic about what it's going to entail. It's going to entail some big matches taking place in Dublin, and maybe some teams from from other countries might stay in some of the nice hotels that exist in Ireland, similar to Real Madrid coming here or Premier League teams coming for pre-season. It's not going to revolutionise or change anything. You know,
Could I ask then, given that, as you said, it will be at Croke Park in the Aviva Stadium,
yeah,
and isn't going to cost a huge amount of money to host in comparison with trying to do a bunch of stadiums or put in various bits of infrastructure, and given that they're saying there's potential for 150,000 visitors, 600 million spent, and the Irish public get to be part of the tournament and go and see some matches, why object to that?
Well,
What's
I think
the strongest objection, what's that based on?
Well, I think first of all, there still is there's the fear that this is going to be a massive focus and time and energy in the coming years that will be better spent working on other things. Now, as I said, I think it's interesting that some of these figures, like Jack Chambers was speaking yesterday about, the return to investment being 4-1, whatever, like from 50 to 80 million, I think, and security and various costs. But you could have, now I know sometimes these economic estimates and figures and stuff like that can all be a bit sort of, they're round figures and they're round figures that are thrown there. But you have a situation where like there's badly needed government investment in football at the moment. It's been a problem over a long period of time. There's discrepancies with, say, betting tax and state funds that go into, say, horse racing and the greyhound industry. Don't see any of it. We're now talking about a football event coming to the shores that looks like it could generate a lot of money potentially for the Exchequer. So the question is the game actually going to see anything back from this? Or is it just going to be an exercise where football's history with politics in this country is that it's a great thing for people to get on board for a couple of weeks at a time, maybe every couple of years in the summer. Like you look back through the history of Euro 88 and Italia 90 where you see, be it Charlie or Bertie later on, where everyone gets on board this for a couple of weeks. But at the time there was no sort of constructive investment in the game. So it's not so much that there's maybe an opposition to doing it. Maybe that's the wrong way to phrase it. It's just more so not viewing it as particularly important or something to celebrate or get excited about, because we've seen this exist in a version before where people latch onto it for a while. They talk in vague terms about, well, this will be great for the game, it'll be great for the country, but nothing happens. And in fairness, what I actually think has happened this time, I actually like the fact that even Stephen Kenny yesterday, we might hear some of that, but Jack Chambers is on. It's not as if they're the official figures. Jonathan Hill has encountered this. It's not as if they're getting the sort of the green flag waving. Like everyone has been asked to examine and question whether this bid is a good thing. That's been the discourse from the start. I think there's an acceptance that if we are in a situation whereby, for example, for this to happen, there will be upgrades of Croke Park. You have a situation where funds will be used to again upgrade what is a top class facility owned by an organisation that has most of the top class facilities in the country. Meanwhile, people who go to games or train here regularly are, sort of going to the toilets in the dark or whatever, and all the comments that Damien Duff has pointed out. So there's a certain irony for this to happen. You might see, well, we need to put more money into GEA funds. So as I said, like, this is where that comes from. This is where the backlash comes from. It comes from a world weariness of seeing this before, and then you have like panel debates where someone just comes on and starts going about, well, they could train in regional League of Ireland grounds, because that's probably something that's on a briefing document somewhere that sounds good. Because of course, when you get politicians madly involved with this, and I do get the sense that government have been big on this, possibly even more so than the FAI. Like government have been strongly pushing this. The slight fear is, well, it's only happening in Dublin, so we need to get it out there that there could be some kind of regional thing. Like there's been a Munster Centre of Excellence in Glanmire that was shovel ready in 2019. The shovels are sort of, they've expired now. All these projects around the country that sit there and do nothing. But when you can talk about a tournament years down the line, oh yeah, we'll have all this sort of stuff happening. So that's where it comes from. And I think sometimes people portray people who've scepticism around this bit of typical sort of League of Ireland people complaining, or there's a desire for top class sport in this country. So why can't we have that and want this? That's fine, but the whole point of people kicking up a fuss is saying, don't take the eye off the ball on this stuff any way through it, and just sort of blindly celebrate, it's going to be great to have this tournament here. I think throughout, and as I said, I think this is happening, and I don't think people will, I think there's enough voices now sort of raising this point that I'm not sure if they're necessarily going to get away with sort of this being some sort of party that we get invested in for a couple of weeks and we move on. I think all the way up, I think, when there's events, 2025, 26, draws, launches, all the stuff that'll happen, I think there will be questions all the way through. Well, how are we getting on with some of your legacy projects here? Like, what's actually happening? And I think that's a good thing, personally.
No, all fair points. Stephen Kenny naturally asked about this in his press conference in advance of the Belgium game on Saturday. So the question, in effect, is, I suppose, to what extent investment in hosting a Euros is in conflict with developing grassroots football across the country? He was stunned into silence on that point. He heard your answer and he thought to himself, oof, good points.
To be fair, Stephen Kenny is prone to silence in an answer, so that may not have, that could have been reflective of it. Like, it was a question that did come up, to be fair, very early in the day. Yeah.
We'll come back to it because the lads will find the audio in a second. So just to bring you up to speed with where we are on Euro 2028, generally, today was the deadline for national football associations to confirm their interest or not in hosting the event. And generally, as I understood it in the morning, generally accepted that the path was clear for Ireland and the British countries to host 2028. There was no rival bid, or so we thought, Dan. The word had been that the Italians were focused on 2032, Turkey were bowing out, and then as the afternoon progressed, Turkey bowed back in, and Russia, in, I presume, a play at high farce, threw their hat into the ring. So the Russian FA officials said it was highly likely that they would contest either 2028 or Euro 2032, one of them. So the RFU plans submitting bids to host the UEFA Euro Cup Championship 2032 is not a joke, said RFU official Rustem Semenov. Never great when you're having to deny that your bid is a joke as a starting point.
Yeah.
He then said, and you'll forgive the rough translation, naturally Ukraine was brought up, the small matter of the insanity ongoing in Ukraine. He said to that, the life goes on. The life goes on. We are ready and open. We must not be closed for UEFA and FIFA. We've already hosted numerous tournaments. We'll be bidding, and I presume there's an ample amount of time. The situation will change, and we'll consider all the details thoroughly. That phrase, the life goes on, I mean, not in Ukraine right now, was the obvious retort. So presumably they're throwing their hat in the ring knowing that it will be dismissed with some vigour, but they want to maintain the pretense that they're a functioning state. Or maybe they're just trolling everybody. I don't know. Either way, I'm not especially worried about the Russian chances.
No, I wouldn't be concerned about that. I mean, there is just a game being played there and we know what's happening. I mean, Turkey are sort of a serial bidder or prospective bidder, and they don't really seem to get anywhere with it. You would assume they'll get one at some stage, but I would think this might slow down the process of ratification, but I don't see it being an obstacle to it.
Stephen Kenny has considered the question and is now ready to answer once again. To what extent investment in hosting a Euros in this country is in conflict with developing grassroots football across the country?
I don't necessarily think they're conflicting. I would say that the infrastructure in football in this country is nowhere near the level that it needs to be, and needs serious government investment. And I think the Taoiseach has acknowledged that and said publicly that he wants to invest in academies in Ireland. And I know that there is programmes for clubs to try and increase the infrastructure, because we're way behind the rest of Europe in relation to stadium facilities. We're way behind, in this country, and I think we know that, but I don't see that necessarily as being conflicting with hosting Euro 28. They're two. I don't see that. I think government funding for infrastructure and maybe, ultimately the Euro 28 is a money generator, isn't it, for the economy? I don't know what's involved in the finance. I actually have no idea what it's costing or how much it is. I wouldn't know. But certainly, so I'm not qualified to speak in regard to the exact figures involved. But personally, I don't see it as a negative, and I think it's good for people who want to see, you know, a major tournament and be part of big events like that and fill it. And I think Ireland wants to be part of that as well, and we want to be. Ideally, we want to be there. Being honest, I'm not sure where the money is coming from, whether it comes from FAI coffers or whether it comes from various government departments and so forth. So I'm not certain of that. So I don't have the details of that, nor have I had any discussions about that, you know. So I cannot be certain about that. But ultimately, I don't see having a Euro 28. It essentially would be in Dublin, obviously, the Aviva or Croke Park. Unfortunately, there's nowhere else in Ireland, but it'll essentially be in Dublin. But I don't necessarily see it as conflicting. I think it'd be a positive to have. I'm not a spokesman for this, you know. I hadn't even really considered it at length. I'm not speaking for it. You just asked me an opinion, okay? And I'm not at all involved in it in any shape or form. But I think if you ask me opinion, and I'm not aware of the exact financial details, but I don't see it as being in conflict. I see it as the Euro 28 as an opportunity to have big events in Ireland, big football events. We, as Ireland, want to be part of that, and that would be special for the country if we were, and in a situation like that, because the previous ones would have been COVID and empty stadiums and all that. So going forward, it would be special to have that in the country. How we divide the finance, I haven't got the specifics on that. So I don't know. You know, I think the upgrading of infrastructure is a different argument, I think.
Stephen Kenny there. I have to say, I think I'd pretty much agree with him word for word and all of that. It strikes me, and you made some very good points, some really strong points, but it strikes me that come 2028, whether Ireland is part of this hosting or not, is irrelevant really to the development of football in this country. So say we host it, say we don't host it. If there's a genuine will to either develop facilities and football in this country, or if there's not, then that's where we're going to be. And this does seem separate to that. And the money will largely be from state coffers, it seems. It's not like the FAI are paying for this, and there will be a return. I don't know. This is different to, well, we're building 3 stadiums to try and host the Euros.
Yeah, I mean, but look, I've always made the point that I'm not, like, you're not opposed to the concept of having a great tournament here. Like, people talking about it's going to inspire loads of people and stuff like that, and you know that may be the case.
I don't think that is the case.
I mean, I think that's waffle, right? Personally, be great for people. The lucky few who can probably pay like really, really expensive.
Sure. You
know, how many kids are going to be going? Like, you know, at UEFA prices, but. To me, I've always made the case I'd love to see Ireland go for an under-21 European Championships. There was talk, ironically, probably in the Delaney years, about a cross-border bid with the North for an under-21 Championships. I thought that'd be brilliant. I thought that'd be terrific. You see some of the best young players, you know, some of the top teams in Europe, but also a real excuse to upgrade a lot of your small to medium-sized facilities. Sure. And I think that would be a dual purpose, but you know, that's not as exciting. Really, like, you're not necessarily going to get Leinster House briefings on under-21 European Championship, but you do on one of the biggest sports events in the world. See, what you're saying there is, when you're talking there about like whether it's going to happen or not, but if there's a scenario where this isn't going to happen, right, then I want nothing to do with this at all. You know, that makes it worse. There's actually no plans to upgrade infrastructure, but we're going to pursue this. I think now you have to try and use it as an opportunity to sort of drive forward with it, you know, and I think that's part of the thinking. Like, 2028 is so far away, and this is one of my other things as well, that it becomes a real focus of, well, we've got Euro 2028, and in every strategy launch or discussion, it's like, well, we have this big thing coming over the horizon. It's going to be some pot of gold or something, whatever it may not be. Like, stuff needs to happen in the next 6 to 12, 18 months, like really crucial, pivotal stuff, and it does require good relationships with the state, with the government, to make this happen. And it's possible, you know, that from the FAI perspective, there's an element that if the government are strong on this and wanting to do this, then you go in with it, and it might help you with some of your other aims. And that's a very glass half full take on the whole picture. So it's not just a case of being negative about it for the sake of it or anything like that, or wanting to like deny people the chance to have this tournament because a lot of us experience misery on a regular basis, and it's not like that. It's just a case of the danger that it becomes this massive distraction that diverts away, that we have this thing coming in 2028. Like, if there's things aren't done in this country before 2028, like, we're not going to be participating in these tournaments ourselves, you know, over the longer run, and that probably is more important.
48,000 tickets sold for the Belgium game, Lithuania on Tuesday. I think we're up to 33,000 tickets sold. John Eustace has been announced. He's the new Anthony Barry, 13 months on from Anthony Barry's unveiling. 42 years of age. He's the QPR assistant manager. Played for Coventry, Stoke, Watford, Derby. 20-year playing career. Wasn't a Rolls-Royce career, therefore he had to drop down the divisions to get his start in management. Seemed to do very well, and is now 42 years of age and has worked his way up to QPR, who do play a 3-4-2-1, which Stephen Kenny said was important. What Kenny said of the appointment was, my own relationship with him would be the main reason, and his reputation as a good coach. I've watched videos of all his sessions. I've watched him at length and studied his coaching style. He's a student of the game, thinks about the game. We did quite a few video sessions together before he came on board. We interacted in relation to how they train, what his ideas are. He's thought-provoking, he challenges some concepts, so he's interesting. I feel he's a really good person as well, and he'll bring a humility to the group. I think he'll do a good job, were Kenny's points. And he seemed to develop a relationship with him when he was going to West Brom games in particular to see Malumbi and Darrow Shea and Callum Robinson, and Eustace lives in the area, so they formed a bond over coffees. And after Anthony Barry described it as a no-brainer to go to Belgium, didn't soften that one for us at all.
He was doing it for the Belgian press. Maybe didn't realise, like, you know. To be fair though, I mean,
it's tough to leave Ireland. It was a no-brainer.
Well, I think, to be fair, even when Kenny has spoken about Anthony Barry, I think there's a pragmatism there that, like, he got the chance to work with the number one team in the world in a World Cup year, a team that potentially could win it or certainly go all the way. I think deep down people probably understand. If he was Irish and had said that, it might be a different feeling. But I mean, he's English. He has no attachment with the country here, so it's not as if he's sort of turning his back on the team he dreamed of one day representing in some shape or form. It's business, Joe.
He wouldn't have taken much now to soften that a touch.
Yeah, but it's come back via the Belgian media. Maybe he said other stuff and we haven't heard it.
I couldn't get out of there quick enough. Absolute no-brainer. I couldn't believe it when the call came from the Belgians.
You know, who knows? Who knows?
So, do we know much beyond about John Eustace?
No, I mean, you've sort of covered the main points there. Like, I think certainly the indications were from the start when Barry left that Kenny was looking for someone sort of at a similar profile, you know, potentially active at the moment. Like, we were out watching some of the training session on Monday. Now it's quite closed. We see bits and bobs this week, but like Anthony Barry, from what I gather, was very active on the training pitch, and Eustace was out there from the start the other day in the middle of it. And I think, you know, Kenny's big on maybe a smaller staff with very defined roles. And I think even when he appointed Damien Duff, he liked the idea of, Duff was at Celtic at the time, appointing someone to that role who was working in the game right now, week on week, is preparing, you know, for big matches and operating sort of, you know, seeing how strategies and stuff play out and sort of on top of maybe modern trends or whatever might be happening. So I think then they went for Barry again, who was, to be fair, like, you know, a grade up in the sense of what he was involved with at Chelsea. Yeah. I think they were always going to go for someone who was of that ilk, rather than say go for maybe an ex-international who was out of work or someone like that, you know, who they'd appoint full time. I think the job share, active coach was the way to go. The slight risk is, I mean, Eustace is one of these people that seems to be in football, his name is sort of, he's been thrown in there for jobs. Like, he was meant to go to Swansea last year, you know, getting a good job in the Championship. So I mean, it's plausible he may get a no-brainer offer at some stage in the next year, and then people will say, oh, he's lost another staff member. But clearly that's the risk he's decided to take, rather than maybe going for someone that no one else wants.
Yes. Yeah,
you know what I mean? So, like, it's a bit of the trade-off here. If you go for, like, young, in-demand coaches, they might leave you.
No, fair point. Our football show coverage is brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. Paul Pogba's done an extremely interesting interview, and it turns out as well, Miguel Delaney was talking to Mick Clegg, who was the Manchester United power development trainer, and it seems Roy Keane desperately wanted to bring Mick Clegg to Saipan and the World Cup in 2002 and brought it to Mick McCarthy 7-8 weeks out from the tournament, and Mick said, no, I don't know him, and Keane seething apparently. So he's done a really interesting interview about all that. So we'll bring you some of those pieces in just a moment. Back with Dan McDonnell next.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Get more of the sports you love on Sports Extra with BT Sport and Premier Sports.
Tom Dunn.
Music, chat, guests, bit of crack. Paul, John, Bob, Joni, Sinead, both Elvises. It's first name terms all the way.
Tom Dunn.
Tom Dunn Show Sunday to Thursday each night from 10 p.m.
on News Talk.
So do please drop in.
Dundeel has the largest range of electric vehicles in Ireland from Ireland's trusted premium car dealerships. That's why you will find Sheehy Motors Volkswagen on Dundeel. Stop by Sheehy Motors Volkswagen showroom on Dundeel today and connect with them for great deals on electric vehicles. Dundeel, for electric vehicle deals to feel great about from all of Ireland's trusted car dealerships.
At Tesco, we're celebrating Mother's Day with some fantastic offers like fresh flower bouquets, such as Tesco Finest Mum's Surprise, just €25. And celebrate with 33% off Louis Dulani Champagne Brut, now just €26.80. Plus, you can use Clubcard Power to lower prices, like Cadbury Milk Tray 360 gram was €10, now just €4 when you zap your Clubcard at the till. Shop in store or online. Tesco. Every little helps. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Listen to my voice. You're getting very sleepy. Daydreaming about the Sleep Well event at Easy Living Interiors. Imagine yourself sinking into a luxury new velvet bed frame, snuggled up on a cozy pillow top mattress. Get 2 free pillows and an extra 10% off bedroom furniture with all mattresses over $499 while stocks last. The Sleep Well event at Easy Living Interiors. Cork, Waterford, Navan, Naas, Sandyford, Drogheda and Wexford. Sale now on.
Our grandfather founded Stafford's Funeral Homes in 1953. Generations later, the people we've met and the lives we've helped to celebrate continue to be our inspiration. That's why Stafford's now have some of the most comfortable facilities in Ireland and provide more choice and control for families. Inspired by our grandfather, Tom Stafford, we are proud to serve our community with the highest standards of funeral care. Stafford's. Trust our family to take care of yours.
Are you a single guy? Well, here's some really good reasons why you should join Two's Company. It's efficient, it's totally private and secure, and authentic. No fake profiles, just real people seeking genuine relationships. So take a more professional approach and come in and talk to us today. See twoscompany.ie.
Eileen can milk 49 cows in 57 minutes. Michael could wire a new kitchen in under 3 hours. And John can fix Sandra's shower, sink and toilet all before lunch. Fair play to you, John. These people are experts at what they do, so they work fast. We're experts in getting to know their business and helping it be better connected with Ireland's fastest mobile network. If you're a small business, switch to 3 Business from only €15 per month. Visit us in store or at 3.ie/business. 3 Business, where connections come to life. €15 per month for the first 12 months on our SIM-only plan, €25 thereafter, based on analysis by Ookla of speed test intelligence data for Q3 to Q4 2021.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, proud partner and supporter of the Republic of Ireland women's national football team.
This is News Talk.
Welcome back. Joe Molloy here. Dan McDonnell here as well from the Irish Independent. The Paul Pogba interview, you haven't...
No, I've been in my own little world, so
That's
no.
okay. France are playing Ivory Coast, South Africa, friendlies. So a couple of things going on with Pogba. Primarily, I suppose, he revealed that his World Cup medal has been stolen recently. There was a burglary at his home. Incredibly frightening. He called it his family's worst nightmare. His house was broken into while his children were asleep in their bedroom. And this happened, and we've seen this before with numerous footballers. The perpetrators obviously know that if there's a match on,
he's away.
He's likely to be at it. So this was Tuesday. Pogba was playing against Atletico Madrid at Old Trafford, and the children were at home with their nanny. And a couple of thieves broke in. Pogba says they've robbed us of our sense of safety and security, which I'd say they have. Anyone who's had their home broken into, it's very difficult to settle again after something like that. So he was talking to the Keep. He said, they stole a safe. There were jewels from my mother, my World Cup medal. What scared me most was that my 2 children were at home and the nanny as well during the incident. She overheard everything. She called my wife in security and then she locked herself with the boys in a room. For several days she was shocked. The main thing is that my children are well. So horrendous experience for the Pogba
Yeah, like I mean, that is the thing, as you say. Like the footballers do, there are sort of countless examples of them being targeted, and yeah, the higher profile you are, the greater the target that might exist upon them.
And it often unsettles families. I seem to remember, I think Di Maria had a similar experience.
Yeah, and like they're not robots, you know. Like I know, and like I'm not saying that like, this happened recently. So I mean, there's been a lot of bad displays and performances and questionable stuff from Pogba prior to all of this, you know.
Sure.
But I sometimes wonder with some of these, like the higher profile characters, like the amount of stuff, they still have the same brain and sort of, you know, potential for weakness and to be distracted as anyone else. Like just because you're paid more doesn't mean you're more focused or tuned in. And this is the thing, like, you know, they're vulnerable to a lot of the same fears and anxieties that other people are, and they probably, you know, by Damon, like with the fact that he has so much going on with himself, you kind of wonder, you can understand maybe sometimes why he's can be a bit distracted.
He then spoke to Le Figaro and reflected on his 5+ years at Old Trafford. He's now 29 years of age, Pogba. So I mean, we've probably seen the best of him, whatever the best of him was at 29.
Yeah. 90, yeah.
And so he's speaking about his time at Manchester United, in particular this season, but he talks about the whole 5 seasons, and it's pretty. I mean, he's not really reflecting on what he might have done better. So he says, you have to be honest, my 5 years don't satisfy me. Not at all. This year it's dead. We won't win anything. Whether it's with Manchester or another club, I want to win trophies. And so then came the obvious question. You seem to play very well for France. Less so at Old Trafford. It's simple. With the Blues, I play, and in addition, I play in my position. I know my role. I feel the confidence of the coach, the players. It's normal to feel this difference with Manchester because it's hard to be consistent when you often change position, you change the game system or your partners. With Didier Deschamps, we get along very well. He gave me a role that I know, but at Manchester United, do I really have a role? I asked the question and I don't have the answer.
It's well put.
He basically just said I've been mismanaged for the 5 years. It's been...
But it is one of the things I find, like, you watch Manchester United and they don't, like, what is the identity of that team? Like, how do they play? How do you describe them? Yeah, well, how do you describe them? And I suppose...
Individuals.
No, listen, at times, I mean, the expectation was that they rely on great players to do great things, and Pogba being a great player, they probably look at him to rise above all of that and just take control of games. But was that always the thing about his time at Juventus, that they actually had a quite settled structure and he had a role within it?
Yeah.
And yes, because of the force of his personality, he was like to the fore of any coverage of that team, and he is a star. But actually, you know, he had other players around him that complemented him.
And it's easy to forget.
France is like that.
He was exceptional for France during the season.
But I mean, he was. I mean, the game where they were knocked out, ironically, was Switzerland, wasn't it?
Yeah. His celebration was maybe not great.
No, but the level of his play was exceptionally good.
He is a different player, and that's that. Like, it does suggest that the general mismanagement, like chaos at Manchester United is affected him, because he's a different player, and he's not just he was a different player several years ago or a different player at that World Cup. It's every time he plays for France, and it's every time he plays for Manchester United. He's then asked by the interviewer, it's a very good interview really, have you ever suffered with depression? And he says, completely, and several times during my career I've been through it, but we don't talk about it. Sometimes you don't even know you have depression. You just want to be isolated, to be alone. These are all unmistakable signs. From a personal perspective, that started when I was with Jose Mourinho at Manchester. You ask yourself, is there something wrong with you because you've never experienced these moments in your life before? Of course we earn lots of money, we don't complain really, but that doesn't prevent you from going through these moments in your life, like the whole world, which are more difficult than others. One is judged as a footballer every 3 days. You have to be good all the time, although we have worries like everyone else, whether that's with our partners, our coach, our everyday life. Of course, we feel it in our bodies, in our heads, and you can have a month, even a year where you're not great, but you can't say it publicly. And he revealed that he speaks with former players like Patrice Evra and a psychiatrist to alleviate these feelings. So that's Paul.
Well, I didn't know he was going to go down that road when I was speaking previously.
It's funny you said that, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's said, like, you can have superhuman talents, but you still have the same sort of potential issues, you know, with confidence in the mind or whatever, than as anyone else, you know. And as I said, I often just, like, you see some of the stuff that's gone on with Rashford or whoever it might be. I think even now for the more social media active generation of players, they're exposed to so many thoughts and opinions and stuff that it can only have I'm not going to say depressive, but like, you can only have I can definitely
Corrosive.
see how it can have a corrosive impact on them, and you can't avoid it, because a lot of them, to be fair, it's not like it's a hard drinking sort of, out all the time sort of Monday club sort of mentality now. A lot of the time they are like particularly good professionals in terms of how they mind themselves and their bodies and their athletes, so they're probably sitting in a lot of the time, and what do you do? It's well and good externally to say, they should just block themselves and stay off social media or whatever. It's probably hard. You probably don't do a huge amount else, and of course their feelings are going to be the same.
Erik ten Hag was in Manchester on Monday, so he was interviewed at Old Trafford. 52 years of age. His managerial career is only 10 years old at this stage. As we know, he's been at Ajax since 2017. Really, it's that Champions League semi-final run of 2019 that's elevated Erik ten Hag. Before Ajax, would you know where he's been? I didn't.
I don't now, to be honest.
Not many would. He's been at Go Ahead Eagles,
Yeah.
Bayern Munich 2, presume that's their reserve team, a la Madrid and Barcelona having reserve teams in the lower leagues of German football. So Bayern Munich 2 and Utrecht. That's his career. And it's like his stock is hot right now. Pochettino's is dipping. Gary Neville put up a poll on Twitter, and polling is increasingly difficult concept across the board, Dan, but you would think Gary Neville has a lot of Manchester United followers. So he asked Twitter, Pochettino or Ten Hag? 82% Ten Hag.
Yeah.
How many of these fans have watched 20 Ajax matches?
See, I think with Ten Hag, like, is there a danger that people they like the idea of the candidate as opposed to knowledge of the actual candidate? But that's the same. Like, if you were to, if Gary Neville put out a poll saying, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think as an example, who would you rather Manchester United to sign, and you pick some sort of run-of-the-mill English player and some maybe not that well-known Portuguese player who looks brilliant on YouTube, like, a lot of people will go towards what they don't know, and I think there's an element of that. Like, Pochettino has been exposed to some public disappointments now, and I'm not saying Ten Hag, maybe he could be brilliant, but I think it's just classic sort of thing. It's like, there's something exciting about the idea of someone from Ajax coming in. It sounds like this is exactly what you want.
There's a text in saying Ten Hag's the hot young thing though, who's 2 years older than Pochettino.
yeah. Well, I mean, he hasn't been knocking around the circuit for a while.
No.
He hasn't been on Monday Night Football or anything like that. So you don't know what his.
He has a mystique right now. The mystique is the best thing he's going from. He interviewed for the Spurs job last year, but his English apparently was very poor, and they decided not to go with him. Whereas he has improved his English subsequently. So he was at Old Trafford, but they plan to interview Pochettino and several others.
It seems quite public how it's all playing out, isn't it?
I know.
They're clearly briefing about some of this, like that these interviews are. You would have thought even that would cause problems for him in his job at the moment.
I would have thought so. Arguably, they're doing things in an official, proper way. They don't understand you're meant to tap people up.
Yeah, like Pochettino's also at PSG. When I think about it, I'm not sure to what extent these things are. Like, I hope Ten Hag hasn't told Ajax on Monday, I've got a family issue.
No, they're acting like this is like a normal business where you interview people publicly or openly.
Yeah.
That's not how football works. Mick Clegg, father of Michael Clegg, who did play briefly for Manchester United, by the way. So Mick Clegg was the power development trainer at Manchester United. He's spoken to Miguel Delaney. He has a new book out. Did you know about any of this?
No, as in about the Saipan stuff. No, I mean, I knew who he was and all of that, but no, not this. No, this is, I think, in fairness to Miguel, he did flag it as a new Saipan angle. I mean, we're coming into 20. I mean, we are in that dangerous 20-year anniversary territory. I mean, I could slag it off, but I'll probably end up doing stuff on a 20-year anniversary.
I'm taking that week off work.
Well, I mean, what week? You're going to have to take a whole month off, Joe. How are you going to manage that one?
God.
So we are in that, but new information is definitely something that everyone would like to get some new information from somewhere.
Bloody interesting. So Mick Clegg seemed to really hit it off with Roy Keane and had a big effect on Roy Keane. So it seems that Keane felt Clegg's approach was so distinctive that he could help develop Ireland into a, quote, small SAS unit ready to, quote, strike fear. I want you to come and train myself and some of the other players I've talked to, Keane told Clegg. We want your work with us because we feel it would be really good for the team to have somebody like you as a motivator too. We're a small unit, but we can come out and really surprise people. I want you with me. I need you with me, is how Clegg tells the story from Keane's perspective. McCarthy did not feel the same way. No, he tells Keane, I don't know him. He's not coming. He's not part of the team. And that was that. Keane, in the words of Clegg now, was, quote, seething. And who knows to what extent that contributed to Roy Keane's general mood and
I can
frustration.
see why McCarthy, if that was the case, why McCarthy is all about, well, this is the group, like, didn't he? They had the sort of the familiar figures around the camp.
And it was just 6 weeks out. 6 weeks, 7 weeks
Yeah,
out.
I can see why there would be an objection to it.
Clegg talked about Keane generally, though. Maybe that was every bit as interesting. He was absolutely brilliant when you see people change, because he was making them on. Keane had one of the higher body fat percentages for a long time. He was brilliant. When you see people change, you also see a change in their mentality. That's what happened with Roy. You could almost say he reinvented himself as a player. His body fat level went down to 5.5% at its best, which is very, very low, but perfect for a midfield player. He was very power-based, attack, which is why he loved doing the boxing. It all helped hone him, made him more sharp, more aggressive. He was really good to work with. And he says the Keane getting so lean and so fit had this effect right across the dressing room. So he said Roy maintained control. He kept people in order. You have to have somebody like that in a change room. And certainly at that time, when the players went into the gym, they knew Roy was very pro what I did. So he made it really easy for me to work in the gym. All the players wanted to do it because on a playing and training level, Roy was the man. Everyone bought into it because Roy said it was good. So it all passed down to Beckham, Butt, Jaap Stam. Ruud van Nistelrooy, magnificent, the most marvellous mind ever when it came to understanding who he is, what he is, and what he could do. Nemanja Vidic was a marvel to train. I was honoured. Roy wanted me on the pre-season tour. The gym became a centre. It was a marvellous time. So, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Keane definitely, you can see from the shape of Keane. Like
it's carved from stone.
But not the case in the mid to late 90s.
The mid to late 90s he was chubby.
Yeah, he really was. You know, and I know a lot of that was lifestyle related effectively, and I think he said as much. You know, but it's by the time he got to the end, like I think he went from being super lean to almost gaunt a bit at times. You know what I mean? It did feel like he put his body through a lot.
But as he said to Gary Neville, there was the story.
Yeah,
like his iron levels were so low he couldn't play a match.
Yeah. Like, and you can see it. You can see some of the footage of him in his last year, and even when he went to Celtic that time, you know, it was almost unnatural, but it's perfectly logical in terms of how he explained it. I'd forgotten about that interview actually, where he did go down that road.
Yeah. I'm out of time, so I'll just give you one last quick quote. This was interesting. Naturally, Ronaldo comes up, transformation in the gym, all that stuff. But I thought the more interesting observation, and I hadn't heard this observation on Ronaldo from anyone, actually, So Clegg here says Ronaldo was perceived as wasteful for a chunk of his Manchester United career. But he said, you can see how it came together for him. Some players practice something and then they take it into a game, and if it doesn't work, they never use it again. Cristiano would practice something, then he would take it into training games, then he would take it into a game against teams at the bottom of the league, and he would hone his skills there. He wouldn't use it in the big games against Chelsea until he was confident with it. And he never ever lost confidence he could make whatever he was working on work. That's why he got so many people shouting at him, he's this, he's that. No, he was working on an apprenticeship. It was about working towards perfection. Really interesting.
It is actually, yeah. I've never heard it put that way, as you said. It's sort of a very calculated progression.
I'll do it against West Brom. I'm not going to do it next week against Chelsea until it's ready. And then, boom. We got to take a short break.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Get more of the sports you love on Sports Extra with BT Sport and Premier Sports.
This Daffodil Day is the day we take back from cancer. So please, donate now at cancer.ie.
Did you know that right now, Carew protects the public by regulating over 22,000 health and social care professionals in Ireland? So far, registers are open for dietitians, dispensing opticians, medical scientists, occupational therapists, optometrists, physiotherapists, podiatrists, radiographers, radiation therapists, social workers, and speech and language therapists. If you are receiving care from one of these regulated professions, you can visit our website carew.ie to check if they are registered.
The Institute of Education is now enrolling for its Easter intensive revision courses for 1st to 6th year students. Our expert teachers and legendary class notes will help you get your best results. Classes take place both online and in Leeson Street, Dublin, with class recordings available to help with revision. Enrol by March 29th to avail of our buy one get one free early booking offer. For further details, visit instituteofeducation.ie.
Hey Zig, did you know that schools all across Ireland are taking part in ESB Science Blast right now?
I know, Zag, and did you know that they're busy investigating all sorts of interesting questions like...
Why does our skin wrinkle in water?
Does the material of a hurley affect your puck out?
Will robots take over the world one day?
Agus Cunnus a Snovin Bod. ESB Science Blast, delivered by the RDS, empowers kids to investigate the science behind simple questions, just like these ones.
Discover more at esbscienceblast.com.
Style your home this spring with Harvey Norman. We have great deals on our huge range of homewares and bed linen. Brighten up your home with 20% off all floor and table lamps, or discover our new range of garden solar lights starting at just €25. Shop our colourful outdoor cushions and throws from only €20. Plus, save up to €100 on our stylish range of mirrors. Shop these deals and more in-store or online at harveynorman.ie. Go!
The average office phone and keyboard contain over 25,000 germs per square inch. Protect your staff from germs, COVID-19 and other viruses. Get your IT equipment, server room and data centres professionally deep cleaned and sanitised by Alpha CC. For a free consultation, call 286 1800 or email info@alphacc.ie.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, proud partner and supporter of the Republic of Ireland women's national football team.
This is News Talk.
You're welcome back to the football show. So some final thoughts, Don McDonnell. On Saturday, sellout for Belgium. How much of a B team is this? Kevin De Bruyne out, Lukaku out.
Anyone with more than 50 caps is not here.
Okay.
Basically, so yeah, like Hazard, Lukaku. Sorry, Torgan Hazard is here, but Eden is not. You know, Vermaelen, Vertonghen. You know, like a lot of those sort of better known players, but they still have. You still look at their squad, and it's like. Well, it's still like Tielemans from Leicester is there. They've got Benteke and Origi in the striking department. Jeremy Doku, who's really exciting, would have been here in the under-17 finals a couple of years ago. And he's 19 at the moment, playing in France. He's going to be a big name. In years to come, you look at that and say, yes. So there's a couple of exciting young players there, but it's not sort of household name Belgium. Like it's a strange one, because I actually think the Irish team now is reasonably settled. You have an idea what they expect from them, whereas maybe this Belgian team, while it is the number one ranked side in the world, they may not necessarily as a collective have played together before, you know, without these sort of leading light figures that they can turn to, these sort of talismanic figures they can turn to in games. So they're still naturally favourites to win and all of that, but it feels like this is a game that Ireland are going to be really invested in, whereas for Belgium it's just one little building block towards a year that's peaking in December.
Yeah,
November, December, you know.
This is a major milestone in there.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I'm sure they want to stay top of the rankings. They don't want to be losing games, you know, for no reason. But it's not something that's a big thing for them, whereas you just get the sense that Ireland are going to be really properly invested in it.
Sure. Any glaring absentees for Ireland?
From the squad, I mean, I think probably if everyone was available, the two players who would be in contention to start that aren't there, you know, Adam Ida's out, Enda Stevens isn't, he's only coming back from injury. He dropped Jamie McGrath completely because he's gone to Wigan and he hasn't been playing, which is, he's taken a quite assertive step on that. But otherwise it's pretty close. You know, there's a couple of players, you know, that have been in squads that aren't there, but I think they'll be quite close to a strongest team, you know. So you're going to see, like, you know, Ogbene will obviously be involved. It's that sort of how they work out the front department, because you'll have Ogbene, Callum Robinson. The last game, people may remember, was against Luxembourg, where Jason Knight came off the bench and completely turned the game. The 3-0 win, where Knight came off the bench and was involved in all of the goals. So will that be the front three on Saturday? Or do you try and bring in someone like Will Keane, maybe, who's been doing very well this season for Wigan, as a more sort of traditional striker? So there's just a couple of little issues there, but I mean, you've got Shane Duffy, John Egan, Seamus Coleman, Matt Doherty, James McLean. Like, that could be your back five. So it's quite a sort of experienced sort of team, you know. So, but I think hopefully it'll be a good contest, you know. And Belgium can be a quite good side to watch. Look at the games they've been involved in, can be quite high scoring at times. So hopefully there's a liberation from their side rather than some kind of pressure. I don't think there should be, really.
Okay, very good. Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it, Dan. The football show on Off the Ball is brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. Tomorrow morning, OTB AM, as usual, from 7:30. Owen and Johnny presenting. Oisin McConville will be on, and Ross Hamilton will be on as well, talking all things rugby. And then 7 o'clock on the radio, as usual, John Giles, former Ireland captain Ciara Griffin, joins us as well on the Six Nations show, which will play out on the show tomorrow night as well, and more besides. In the meantime, Tom Dunn on the way.